I don't think we will.
No.
So we saw to create routes with
Can you go back for a second to the code?
yes.
Are you using backticks on the repo/id?
Yes,
Why is that?
for no reason.
For no reason?
No.
I mean, can you do it just like the one on the top?
Yeah, I think this should also work. Yeah,
Okay.
no reason.
Next time don't change because for me I was expecting it should be like that.
I have to pay attention to the smallest detail.
Yeah,
because
me
after
too.
my
I say.
frustration with the week 3, I said, okay, why did he do that?
No, but for instance, as you can see, none of them is a variable, even though this is considered a variable. But in order to be a variable for real, we need this, right? Now this can be a variable, but without it,
Yeah.
this is just a string. So a string again can be written like anything basically. But yeah, it can be like this. Again, if you would have a linting here, a linter thing, it would tell you like, hey, in here you used double quotes and in here you
You
didn't.
need to be consistent.
No, but that's tools that helps you doing that.
Linting is not helping with my code. It's still not running.
Well, it does not code for you, but it helps you code.
It's not magic. Though.
No, it's not.
Even Kat gave up yesterday. I said I give up.
Yeah,
I'm
but
seriously thinking about rewriting the week 3. The logic is so messed up that.
But now one thing that we did here. So in here we have 3 links. Sorry, but we actually have 4 routes, right? Because this one, again, this one is dynamic. Because this one depends on whatever you send, right? When we look here, we can send 1, we can send 10, we can send anything, right? But again, it's usually you don't write on the URL. You have a link on a website that changes the URL for you. So basically that's what I did here on our repositories list. When we look at our repository component.
I have a question. You didn't, I mean, I know you hard-coded the data that was supposed to come from a database. Now, the database has like 1,000, 1,000, 10,000 records, a million records. Then you would have to kind of like handle where would you handle pagination or filtering?
Everywhere. You'd have to handle it in a database, you'd have to handle it on a server, and you'd have to handle it on a front end. Which basically means the server has to have support. If you send page 1, 10 items, then the server needs to filter that, so that then the database needs to filter that.
Okay.
So everywhere.
Okay.
If you want pagination, it needs to be done from one end to the other. That's usually the rule of it.
Yeah, that would stop.
Otherwise, one of them is going to be with a lot of data, and that should not be the case ever. So in each component now, the title basically it's a link to the page, and as you can see, it's really fast. Sometimes you cannot see, but yeah, each one of them has a link to their own page, as you can see. And basically that's handled by this route, because we can send any ID to it, and then it loads this repo component, which, as we saw, the repo component is the result of whatever is happening there. So this one, we saw it already, it just has the headline, the description, and the number of stars. But here, when we are writing the components, in the same way that we were doing before, inside of the map, inside of the repositories, we are writing repository. So now here, as you can see, I have a link that comes from the same place, react.rar.dom. And in here, and that's why it was with ticks, because I probably copied it from here, because this one needs to be, because this one has a variable on it. So now in here, while I'm mapping through each component, each repository, and I know each one of them as an ID because I put it here as required. So it's safe to say this, that I want a link to this /repo/ whatever ID comes from it. And by looking at my repos, looking at my list, I know that all of them have ID, so completely safe to do this. So this is basically what creates the link to each one of them. Now, again, as we saw before, if we would move these links outside of the browser router, we would get an error. The same would happen if these ones would be written outside. So for instance, if, how can we do that? So repos, yeah, if we do this, where is it? Oh, now there is other errors. Yeah. So this would happen. Like that's also why it's completely safe to use a link in any of your components, because if you're doing it wrong, you're going to get an error for sure. So, and again, as long as you wrap your whole application in a browser router with a switch, then you're completely safe that that's going to happen.
Where are you mapping it? Because I don't see it. Where do you map it?
It's in the same place as it was before, in the repositories.
Oh.
It's just that now the repositories uses the fetcher to get the data. And this data is an array. So here we map, and here we send the data to each one of them.
It's like the question, who is coming for, the chicken or the egg? So here, like we are in the same case now.
So the repositories send the data down to the repository.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your case, it's the list item in the repositories.
When you look here, there is nothing further than repository. I mean, there is a lot of them because there is 4, right? But there is nothing else down. There is the router because we have a link, basically. But by inspecting your code like this, you can see exactly what's the structure that your website has, basically. So for instance, now if I would just do this one here for some reason, where is the create? Oh yeah, we need to go to the create, yeah. So now as you can see, the create has both the create and the repos. The only thing I did is that the create page now contains these two. So, I mean, it's very, again, by dividing your code in very small things, like it's very easy to duplicate. Like, oh, now I need the list here. Cool, you just import. Like zero work, basically, copy paste. So,
To get to the copy paste, that's the problem.
yeah, but that's the point of programming, is to write as less as possible. You should not repeat yourself, but you should always repeat yourself at least once so that you know what you're doing.
Repeating and not repeating, and still repeating.
Script here and submit. Yeah. Now it did not update this one because they are independent on each other. That's also the problem of using this, that we should not do. So create is only create. So now, as we saw on our create repository component, not repository, sorry. In here we have whatever data we just send as post, and we can actually, as you probably know, our network tab here has everything that happens on your website, basically. And because we are always asking this URL to get me repositories, for instance, you can see it here, exactly the data that we get. It's all here, basically. So everything is public. So never put sensitive data on your API, never. Because anyone can see it. Because again, if you want to show it to the user, there has to be a public way to see it. So it's that's basically how it happens. Now on the create one, the same thing happens. So another repo. another description. So now when we submit, you see that in here there was another one, but it just returned okay, basically, because it's a post. And then down here somewhere you can see the data we sent to it. So now when we go to our repositories, the ones we just created are here, basically. So this is exactly the same flow that whenever you build an entire app would go to. And when I refresh on my server, I also got it there. Again, I do not have a database. That's why every time the server goes down, these ones go away. These ones stay because they are hard-coded. But all the rest that I'm just creating right now, all of them will disappear. And that's why you need a database, so that things do not disappear, things stay somewhere safe. Because now the more I create, I get, and whenever this is going to go down, we will see that things will disappear. So now that things are a bit connected, maybe, what we will try is to do a search with everything that we learned until now. So we have a server, and on a server, I'll just show it very quickly. Server. So in here, I have a search that basically filters results based on whatever search you're sending. I mean, it's a very stupid way of doing it, but it works for now. This is not how a search should work. Search is probably the most complicated things on as a developer. So it's not something that they will ever ask a beginner to work on. It's like, we need a new search. No, they will never ask that to a beginner. Don't worry.
No, you can answer. Keep searching.
You will finish the entire internship and still you're stuck in searching. Even me, I cannot search my own self now.
But basically what I did here is that if we have /search and then $Q equals, then whatever we write, we try to filter for it. So if we don't write anything, we get everything. If we write my, I have a lot of stuff with the my keyword on it. So, I mean, if you write
The middle.
What
like
was
media.
Repo? Yeah, if I write the word repo, I got those two. So it's not only the beginning that I'm checking everything. So it works, right? We can assume that. Let's forget about the server now. So right now, in order for the search to work, and because we have this cool fetcher thing, and I already started doing it, I was actually doing right before the class, I already have this search here as a parameter, but now basically we need to change a lot of things here, right? So if there is an ID, do this. If not, now I'll just do the very dumb way of doing it. Now, if there is a search, do this, otherwise do this. Does this work? Why is it not working? Why is it not working? Because we need this. Yeah, I think this should work. So /search and Q equals search. I think it should work. But now, of course, we need a page for it, and that's basically, I created this search one here that basically just does a fetcher to it. I'll just put maybe a headline here. Just to explain what this is. These ones look weird. Yeah. But now, just because I created the component called search, I still need to create a router for it. And again, that's when you start working a large application, it's very nice to have a to-do list of what things you have to do, because until it becomes natural of what you have to do, it might be a bit, oh, I forgot this, oh, I forgot that, oh, I forgot that. So so basically, we need a new route, right? And we need a path for it. And our path is going to be search. Now in here we need a component that we called search, I think. Yeah, it comes from pages, blah blah blah. And I want a way to go there, so I'll just duplicate these ones. Search and search. So now when I'm here, it created a new item here, right? Because we created a new navigation item. So now when I click, it says this is a search page, but now something didn't work because we got an error here saying that that's it. Okay, yeah. This is a classic problem of our use effect hook. Sometimes it needs values to say stop updating or start updating. And as you can see, I was sending the ID before. Because basically is if we are sending the ID, we definitely need to trigger use effect again. And now I just added the new condition inside of the use effect, and I'm not sending that here. So basically that's, when you look here, that's basically what that error is saying. Because we have a dependency inside of the use effect, right? We have a dependency called search because we have different, I mean, we have an if, then that's a dependency. So then we just probably need to add it here. And what happened now? Is this on? Search. Oh, no, cancel. What did you do? So now if we go to our searcher, we are sending. I would like to know what URL is calling. Yes. And nothing is coming out. What did I do different? Okay, so if we...
But you have repo on there. When you go to the website, you have repo there.
Yeah, but basically what I have is exactly this. It's exactly the same, isn't it? Let's try with lowercase. That should not be the problem. Oh, okay. Now it's there. It looks beautiful. Let's just change this to a P so it doesn't look too crazy. Okay, so now we got, again, our search query is hard-coded, right? We have the my here. And that's something we still need to work on. Basically, that's what I want to do. So now I have all the things I want here, and the route is working, and the fetch is working because I can see it. So now basically what we need is we basically need to update the fetcher by searching for it. So that means we need state. So we need equals use state. And now I'll just call it search and set search. Is it correct? Yeah. So now if I send like this, and probably it's going to be empty, then I get everything, because we had that case if we are not sending anything, we get everything. And if we see it, where is it? Is this one getting, why is it getting the repos? Oh, actually, yeah, it's even another check because it's actually empty. So it gets this if here. So it goes all the way down there. So now, but just for the sake of it, let's hard code it here so that, yeah, now we are calling the search for sure. So now basically we learned that, I mean, what we need, of course, is an input field to filter, right? Because we need to type and filter something. So we need an input of type text, right? Is that it that we need for now? Let me just check the create one, right? Placeholder maybe. Yeah, the value. Yeah. Let's do that. Search and then value. Another value we will use the state. Search. So now actually when we look at it, because we hard coded the word my, then we should do this. So now it's search there. Now of course what we want is on change event we wanted to no, not like this, sorry. We want to set search to, and this is event, to event dot target dot value. I will just put them here what did I do? Side by side so we can easily see what's going on here. So we have, now when we look at it, there is a search and it works, right? And the reason why it works, of course, is because we have an input field with the same exact logic we learned a few classes ago, that we control the values of it, where we say every time it changes, updates this state. And this value, we are sending it to our fetcher to say like whatever value is at whatever time, just fetch again. So basically we don't need to make any crazy logic to update to fetch again. Because we are, as we know, every time we change state, it re-renders the component. And because it re-renders the component, it calls fetcher again. And because it calls fetcher again, it calls the API again. So all that logic, it's handled just because we are using state, which there's nothing wrong with it. That's exactly how things work, basically. Because sometimes you might feel like, oh, maybe I'm doing something illegal. This might not be the best way, but no, this is exactly the way to work. So when you look here, for instance, and I start to type, every time I typed one character, we actually made a request to the server. Also, of course, because it filtered our search results, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want to download all the data locally, or which means that, oh, I want all the data in state and then I filter the state. That would be not nice to do at all.
How about API limits?
Well, yeah, if we have limits, then we shouldn't.
Then the search, like if, let's say if the limit is very short, very small,
Yeah.
then the search will stop working.
Yes. Yeah, but that's usually, I mean, if that's a problem, it means that we are using a free version of something. And if we are using a free version of something, then maybe we should not be doing a program that needs that. But of course, if you want to do that and still have API limits, whatever, again, the way to do would be to, instead of doing a fetcher every time, that would be the other way around. All this would have to happen inside of the fetcher. So and we can actually very easily do a different example. Let me just create maybe another file here.
Just before you start, if you go back and you make the input is empty, it still work or it's not everything?
Input empty here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Because we changed the value.
To nothing.
Yes. And
So it's running everything.
yeah, nothing means everything.
No, it's actually, if you go
During
back
the
to,
It
There's
returns
no content.
it returns all the results, because that's
Yeah.
basically what, I mean, if we don't want that, then we need to make logic not to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But for instance, that would be, in this case, that would be really, really easy to, for instance, if we do this.
it goes all the way down to repos. That's why we
Oh.
have a list
Yeah, on the link
on
part.
the link. Yeah.
We actually don't know how to make
So-
use of the debugging part of the web, like the part, how to really read.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's always hard. That's not a
We're not going to learn that in 15 minutes.
no.
Yeah.
It's
But
just not gonna happen.
But for instance, right now, when we land on a page, there is no results. And when we start writing, now there is. And when everything is empty, now there isn't. And basically, what we did was,
just to make the logic.
if there is something there, then render the component. If not, there's nothing. So every time the value is nothing, then it doesn't show anything. But then again, it depends what are your requirements. It depends what you have to build. Because if you always want to show everything and then you filter, then you do this. If you're not, then you just need, I mean, it's very, very simple. You wrap your component in an if. That's it.
Yeah.
And now you have a complete different experience.
Code based.
Yeah.
Wrap my component on something, you make it work.
We need Harry Potter, just make it rip. And that's it.
I think is the thing with React is like when you learn JavaScript and Node, it seems like it goes linear, you know, from left to right, and it goes that way. And when it comes to React, it's kind of like, oh, you can go left to right to left, down, up, down. It's
Yeah, but that's also because you didn't learn everything from Node.
Yeah.
Because if you really want to build a Node server, it's not that straightforward. Because again, it's not, as you say, if you need to query the server every single time you make a search, all those things makes things slow. So then you need to have different ways of structuring your code to make things faster. So it's not the fault of React to be complicated. It's the fault of we want to build a big application. Then we need a bigger thing. I mean, the best similarity between developers and something else is the story of the three little pigs. You know, they had different requirements for their houses, but only one survived, right? Because there was a different danger all the time. So it's the same exact thing. What do you want to build? If you want to build something that needs to sustain a lot of calls and a lot of requests, then you need to do something serious. If not, then anything works. I'll just do another search here. And now I'll create another route for it. Oh. Is it important? No. Okay. It's not defined. Oh yeah, because we are not using it there. Okay. So now, because as we saw in the other example, every time we were typing, it was calling the server. And what if we have server limitations, right? So now we need to think a bit different, and that's also always a good way. Search input, and this one as return. And we need state here, right? And probably we need items. I'll just do things a bit fast and then explain once I'm done. Oh, actually, we need null here, set items and items prop. Yes, like that. Does this work? Maybe. Now here we don't want this, and we want search input. Where is it? So now when we look at it, is this the other search? What did I call it? I don't remember.
Search.
Another search, yeah, okay. Where is stuff? There is no stuff. Why is there no stuff?
You need to search.
Data. Yeah, I know, but I don't care. Okay, for some reason we do not have the data. Do we have error? Yep. And why is it not working? This is a normal component. Are we even here? Do we need to send any search on it? Maybe we do. Nope, there is nothing there. No, not you. And why is that? Can anyone see it? I can't. So in here we are called different search. Different search is this one. This is another search page, and we have Git home contains all home repositories.
The input for another
Okay.
search?
We are missing, yeah, it was this one. Yeah, this is exactly
Same.
the same as that. And as you can see, yeah, now things are happening because the server is down. And yes, this is a classic problem of we create a new link, but then we forgot to change the path name. And there was no error because, again, we told the app exactly what we thought we wanted to do.
But the set items, the arrow that showed up there, it doesn't matter. Like sometimes on a state, like you can.
No, but
to use a state, you have to have the variable and the function.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
equals use a state.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
But like let's say over there, so
Yeah.
these two have set items, so the function is not being used.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
Yes, because there is a function there which means that it's taking space on your program.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have unused code, you should remove it. Exactly, that's what it means. Because again, it's a warning. Actually, in here you can see this is a warning, this is an error.
Okay.
So warnings, you can have as many as you want. You should not have, but you can have. So now, of course, when we are searching here, nothing is happening because we now want to handle the data locally. And by locally, I mean here. So
now you just pulled all the data locally.
yes, but only once. Only one time, basically. So every time we do this, handle search. Oh no, we actually need the thing. Why did I do that? There. Okay, we can do this. Set search of this, yes. And now here we need new items equals items, right? And the same exact logic we had somewhere here on our search. I'll just copy paste. Oh, no. Actually, we don't even need that. We can use items here, right? No, we should use that one. Now we want this value to be lowercase matched against that one. And set items of result, right? Something like this should work, I think. No, it's not working.
Is that results? It's not like instead of results, it should not be items or new items, set items.
No, because we get all the filtering here on this result variable. But do we need this? Probably do, because we are doing. Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. Now the problem here is this.
Slow.
No, we filtered them, right? So we don't have the original anymore. So when we look here, components, where do we have the data? Different items, search input, state, probably this one. Oh, come on, man. Okay. So now when I start writing, see, as you can see, now here we only have two results.
Nice.
And now no matter what, it okay, now there's nothing, because I keep filtering for it, and I no longer have the original one. So basically now I would have to create another hook that if there is nothing, then refreshes the whole page.
Oh, so then so then that one is kind of like becomes pointless.
A bit, yeah. I mean, basically we would
Because
have
you would have
yeah.
to fetch the API
again eventually, because again we would have to store the whole data locally in one place. We could have two states, basically, one to have all the time and another one to have only sometimes. So this becomes a bit more complicated, of course, and hard to maintain and to think about what you have to do, but it is a possibility, because if we always have a copy of it, and this one we don't need. Can we do this? Probably we can't. Yeah, we still can. Can we do this? Yeah. So if we do, can we do this? This is gonna be a bit. No, we cannot. No, but basically we would have to make to have a constant copy of the whole result, and then we update. But then when we update again, we have to find and replace it. Should this one be there now? And if it should, then update. Then don't update. So this case would be way harder to maintain, of course, and to do, and even to understand and to read and everything. But it's not impossible to to have this solution. It's of course that this solution, it's, if I put them side by side, this solution is cleaner and it's easier to do and to manage. Of course, it does a lot of calls to the network, but we should not be worried with that. That's, I mean, if we have so many people searching our website that we have problems with our server, then we should be paying for it. So that should not be a problem. And yeah, and again, we created another page. We saw an error that usually happens is when you copy paste and forget to change the route there. That's very, very typical. Again, as I mentioned, this switch, actually the entire switch can go to a component itself. Because for instance, if, as you can see in here, things starts to get very big if you have a lot of pages. So you can actually move this to a component itself and then handle it there so that you have one place for all the routes and everything. Also where you can have a better overview of how things are. And the same with the navigation, of course. It's not an issue at all. And looking here, the only thing that kind of, I mean, it doesn't miss because we saw how it would work, is actually to connect all of it that you've done until now, including the databases part, including the server part, and including your website, and they will all connect to each other. And that's basically, again, as I mentioned, I created this server using Express. It's just that my data is not in the database, but you should have your data in the database. And yeah, and that's kind of it with React.
Or the bootcamp.
I mean, there is a lot of other things about React that you can learn and do and try out. It's just, this is also the basics of it, is what usually people are using
Tell me if that's an understatement, what I'm about to say. I feel like we just hit the tip of the iceberg. Is that an understatement?
It's not just that. I have like homework at the school. I started to build a website like from the picture. I just sit and wonder how I can use JavaScript here. I just like feel like sometimes just like everything is gone for a moment, you know.
Yeah.
I know to do everything alone, but like when you have website, like okay, what I should use the JavaScript here. It's like.
But for instance, one thing is that we learn a lot of bases of it. It's the same thing. We all know how to talk and write, but we cannot write a novel. We cannot write a book, right? It's the same thing. But we know everything about talking and writing, right? How come we cannot write it? Because it needs practice. It needs to understand what I want to solve. And then, of course, the more tools you know, also the more ideas you can get. Like, like this probably can be solved with context. I remember that context thing. Let me see how context works. And to be honest, I have a lot of times those questions. I'm like, how does the form work? I don't remember. And I'm gonna go check. I was like, oh, it works like this. It's fine. Because I don't, at least in my opinion, and that depends on the interview. if on interviews, technically you should know everything. But then on a real job, nobody knows anything. Because you constantly are like, how should I do this? I don't remember. And you go online and you search and you see an answer. Oh, yes, that's how. And I mean, again, in React, there is so many small tools that they have built that we can use. It's just that some of them are like, that's too complicated and I can solve it with state, for instance, so I don't even care about if I need to learn that or not. But all the concepts that we learn with state and props and render props and context, references, all those things, they are, I won't say day to day, we don't use it every day, but it's something that you will eventually use a lot if you work with React, because you have to. Again, on this fetcher, I would recommend you to actually try and implement your own way to fetch data exactly like this, but try it to understand also, because in here you are using everything we learn in React when it comes to state, to props, to sending back the props. All that we are learning it here.
I'm gonna pay attention to that one.
Marco, would it be possible that the data that you fetch from the API will be stored in the context so that when you transfer to all the pages, you can still have the data?
That's one of the questions everybody asks in React. And the answer is, depends.
I
should not ask.
But that's a fair question, because it's like, if we have context, why can't we just use it? It's just, if it's a lot of data, And by a lot of data, I mean like, okay, in here we have 4 items. Even if we would have 400 items, and each item only has a title and a description and whatnot, right? Like this, I would say it's okay, we can do that. It's not the best practice, but we can do that. But for instance, if we would do all this data into context, and this is the GitHub API. Again, a lot of it we are not using, right? All these links and we are not using. But if we put all this into context, I would say don't.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm saying it depends, because it depends on use case. And as you can see, this page and this page, we want the same information from them, right? We want the headline and the description, and they both have it. It's just that this has way more things on it. And for instance, in here, you can probably see somewhere. What about on this one? You should be able to see one thing that matters a lot. Oh yeah, it's actually right there. If you look there, it's
Nice.
955 bytes, which is it's not a lot when you think about like it's bytes. But this one is only 167, so it's less. And again, that matters a lot. Eventually, if you have a big application, that matters a lot. So
Can you go
imagine
back to
if
the
you
other
put
one?
if you put this into context, it's only that amount of space that context needs to handle. But if you put this one into context,
Well, if
it's
you-
all that.
If you see the time that it took to fetch, this one's 269, the other one is only 30.
Because on the
Yeah,
Windows-
but again, this is a public API from GitHub that they don't care if it's slow, because
yeah,
they don't care. So they don't put resources on it. So it's also, it depends a lot on cases. But again, if it's a lot of data, do not use context.
Because in the week 4 homework, they asked that you store the repositories
Mhm.
or the context, the names when you search, and login user will be stored in the context so that you can access it with other
Yes,
pages.
yes, but for instance, if it's a login user, it's a very short information. It's probably like name, ID, email, whatever, like a small amount of information. So that's okay to store in the context. That's not a
Yeah.
problem at all. But if it's all this information, no, it's not okay. At least, in my opinion, it's not okay at all.
Should we prepare something for Saturday or we just come with the laptop? Should we prepare something for Saturday?
For Saturday, I mean, we're gonna talk about Git, so.
Yes.
But I don't think we'll use your laptops.
We will not use ours.
No, I don't think so. So you don't have. If you don't want to bring it, you don't have to.
Okay.
We'll be fine because this is hybrid.
Yeah.
And another things.
I
Yeah,
think this
this we
also
did.
solves the Node.js week 4 or the last homework where there's a link,
Probably.
but the SPA doesn't work. So
Oh, okay. I can check that. Yeah, it's probably because some pages. I know this is a video. Some pages might be really, really old or